Hello, welcome back. Let's take a minute to look at Mark chapter 15, verses 1 through 15. Christ is brought to Pilate. Pilate is just sort of the local Roman governor, basically over the army of that area. Making sure the taxes are sent to Rome, making sure the people are put in their place, basically. Apparently, kind of in some of my notes here, it even says that Pilate was a weak governor or prosecutor, procreator, wrong word, procreator, etc. And that he was kind of trying to be fair to Jesus, but not really, because he just sort of was presented with a man who didn't seem to do much, but he kind of knew of this man's legacy. Well, let's read it. Let's just start at 1. And early in the morning, the chief priests with the elders and scribes and the whole council immediately held a consultation in binding Jesus. So he was bound. They led him away and delivered him to Pilate. And Pilate questioned him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" In answering, he said to him, "It is as you say." And the chief priests began to accuse him harshly. The Jewish priests. And Pilate was questioning him again, saying, "Do you make no answer? See how many charges they're bringing against you." So I'm sure the priests were going on and on and on about all the things that Jesus had done. And Pilate is probably very confused, but he's putting things together, because Jesus was not standing up to him for himself. He knew this was written. He knew this was the will of God. This is how things were supposed to be rolled out. He didn't like it to happen. He didn't really want it to happen. It almost seemed like the human side of him knew when the time was going to come. He always told us that. He told his apostles that. He told his mother that. It is not my time yet. But he knew with each miracle would lead him closer to his crucifixion and his death. So he was bound there before Pilate. And he had nothing to say because he knew this was the will of God. Now at the feast, Pilate used to release for them any one prisoner whom they requested. So this is the early morning. And so Pilate is probably kind of wanting to wash his hands of this. And he's hoping they're just going to say, just release Jesus. No. And the man named Barabbas had been imprisoned with the insurrectionists. That word sound familiar? Who had committed murder in the insurrection. And the multitude went up and began asking him to do as he had been accustomed to do for them. So that's, it's very possible, basically, early morning feast and pardoning one of their prisoners. And Pilate answered, "Do you want me to release for you the king of the Jews?" Basically trying to let him go because he knew this man did no wrong. For he was aware the chief priests had delivered him up because of envy. They were all envious. This man is going around saying he's king of the Jews. He's making miracles and working on the Sabbath and doing this and that and the other, But the chief priests stirred up the multitude to ask him to release Barabbas for them instead. Mob mentality, sound familiar? And answering again, Pilate was saying to them, "Then what shall I do with him whom you call King of the Jews?" And they shouted back, "Crucify him." But Pilate was saying to them, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Crucify him." In wishing to satisfy the multitude, so Pilate is having to bow down to this angry mob that has followed the priests in there to deliver Jesus to Pilate. Pilate released Barabbas for them. And after having Jesus scourged, he delivered him to be crucified. Now, even Matthew mentions this almost verbatim. In Matthew 27:26, then he released Barabbas for them, but after having Jesus scourged, he delivered him to be crucified, which is really harsh. Jesus probably knew it was coming. Being lashed with belts infused with pieces of metal, and among other things, it was terrible. It was very, very painful. Flogged by means of a leather whip that probably had pieces of bone and other metal pieces in it. Romans normally used it normally only on murderers and traitors. But the mob mentality was controlling this narrative. The mob mentality, the Lord, was moving to have Jesus crucified. To have that hate bubble up and boil over. All for the sake of one man who saved so many, who fed so many, and would eventually was going to his death to save us all from our own sins. It's very touching. It's very illuminating. And we can almost get out of this. And people are trying to say, "Oh, you Christians, you're not being blah blah blah. You're not being oppressed." Oh yeah, we are. Lots of things are being attacked. The nuclear family is being attacked. Nomenclature is being added and changed to so much radical degree. We don't know what is up and what is down anymore. In a country that's supposed to be a land of the free. When we almost feel, that maybe the quarantine is good after all. Maybe it keeps us safe, not just from a virus, but from each other. Because look at those that really are not containing themselves, that are not really quarantined. Forget January 6th for a minute. All the other insurrection going on in the country. In what is it? Mob mentality, hate, anger, violence. It's been constant. And all we can do is try to pray when we still don't know who killed Ashley Babbitt, who was unarmed, who had a cop almost behind her, who that person could have been shot. We still don't know who killed her. Mob mentality. The bad guys are getting away with it. Fortunately, we cannot. And I don't do any of that crap anyway. I'm not for riots. I've always, ever since civil discourse, which goes way beyond before I was even born, I've never been for it. That's just me. You're not here to agree with me. I hope you're here to learn a little something and go, wow, that chapter that you just read of Jesus being led to his doom and being scourged and being brought before Pilate, we can almost see that in direct symbolism to Christians today in America or anywhere in the world. We've got to pray. We've got to back each other up. We've got to be there for each other, Christian and non-Christian alike. And that's what's the important thing, is spreading love among our diverse nation. And the other side isn't showing that. So something to think about. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on. But by now, I think there's a lot of people realizing there's something off. There's something very wrong here. Where to be able to get real news or any kind of conservative media nowadays, it's in fear of being taken down and just wiped off the face of the earth, to where we're the ones. Where is it? Where we're the ones with the radio and the wands and trying to say to get the secret password and changing the dial to be able to find the news we're looking for, because it's so hidden, it's so obscure, it's being called misinformation, and it's probably more truth than you will ever realize. Unfortunately, the good guys have become the real resistance. And unfortunately, we're the ones being shoved under the rug. And very possibly, we're the majority. I've noticed this even back in the 90s, in the political arena of the 90s, that the minority has been in control ever since. And it's not good. And it's taking this country down a road I don't know if we can ever come back from. I hate to see that. I hate to say that. But there's some there are some ideological roads that many of our youth are going through now. It is going to be hard to bring them back. We can show them all the truth in the world. We can show them what's really going on, and they won't believe you. They've been so brainwashed. They're telling us we're the ones listening to the propaganda. They're the ones believing it. And that's where we're stuck. Fortunately, that's where we're stuck. We need to pray for our nation. We need to pray for each other. Like I said minutes ago, we need to be. We need to prop each other up. We need to be making more videos about truth. We need to be spreading Jesus' name more. We need to be spreading love and understanding and bridging certain gaps just so we can shake some of these people and get them to see reason and logic and maybe eventually maybe righteousness, and see how on the wrong side of the tracks in the mental state that they are. I don't know if we can get this nation back where it needs to be. But like I said a few months ago, 2021, we're going to be wishing before this year's out that 2020 could be back and we could just be searching for toilet paper and Lysol on empty shelves again compared to what's coming. It's going to get worse. We have to be here for each other. We have to focus on God. I've been talking to myself about this. We need to be praying for each other. We need to be praying for our enemies. We need to be praying for those that are burning things down, that are killing people out of one-sided hate and without knowing all the facts, because they refuse to see the truth. Thank you for watching. I hate to bring such hardened and deep thoughts. I'd rather bring something uplifting, a cool drawing, Transformers, card game, whatever. But this has been very heavy on my heart lately. We'll see you next time. Keep a stiff upper lip. Stay your ground. Stay righteous. Love God. Forgive yourself. Forgive others. And love and show love everywhere you can. And when we're up against the wall, the best thing we can do is either defend our faith or sometimes be like Christ and not say anything at all. Live that. Have a blessed day. We'll see you next time.